Fox to the Spurs, Levine to Sacramento with some picks. Chicago basically gets their 2025 pick back and takes some contracts. And the headline, Kirk, is that San Antonio did not give up a lot for De'Aaron Fox. So why?
They're in a different regime. I think they're officially now, Bill, in try to win mode, which is sort of a big paradigm shift for the San Antonio Spurs that have been in rebuild mode, but now they're in try to win mode. I think this is the symbolic threshold of a team that's ready to compete.
So why didn't they give up more picks to get De'Aaron Fox, who I had number 20 on my trade value list?
Because I didn't have to, was the short answer. They gave up some draft capital, obviously. I think those are some nice picks they gave up. But I expected maybe to see Devin Vassell's name, maybe see Jeremy Sohan's name. I think, yeah, you're right. The headline is that none of those guys, as we have right now, are included in this deal.
So they kept Wemby, Fox. They added Vassell, Castle, who I think was a non-starter, Sohan, Harrison Barnes, Keldon Johnson, CP3, Champagnie.
Yeah.
Pretty nice 9. Now CP3 coming off the bench. Maybe you play him with Fox. We've seen CP3 in OKC. He was playing with Schroeder and with SGA. Like, he weirdly knows how to play with other small guards. If I'm a Spurs fan, I'm out of my mind that this was the trade, because
that's right.
They gave up the 27 Spurs first. I don't care. I have Wemby. I'm going to be one of the best 10 teams in the league in 27. They gave up the 2031 Minnesota first, which hurts. That might be a real pick. They got this, they gave up this 2025 Charlotte pick that is basically 1 through 14 protected and is going to turn into 2 seconds. And Sacramento gets 2 firsts, 5 seconds, and they get Zach LaVine, who I think we both really like this year. I actually think he's an asset.
I love it. But again, they don't have a North Star. The Sacramento Kings have been like this my whole life. I don't know what they're trying to do. Now they've reunited the great DeRozan, LaVine duo.
They reunited an 8 seed for multiple years from the East.
The East Coast 8 seed is back for vengeance this time.
Vooch has to be feeling left out. Come on, guys. We could have gone 43 and 39 together. Why am I still in Chicago?
Yeah, for me, the story here is in San Antonio, Bill. The Spurs have a sort of a stopgap point guard in Chris Paul, who's been great. Harrison Barnes has been great. But this is a player in Fox that is a young, great offensive weapon that I think will pair very well with Victor Wembanyama. This is a team that I think was going to have a very high defensive ceiling just because of Victor for years to come. But the offense was the question mark. This helps them address that. And now I think it's like we have Victor at the 5. We have Fox at the 1. Let's surround 2, 3, and 4 with defense and shooting. And I think there's a clear team building project in front of them that they are thrilled to have. It's a pretty simple problem now as opposed to a bigger problem.
Yeah, and they still have a bunch of picks. They have the 2, 3, 4 spots, a lot of length, some potential shooting, although they haven't been shooting the ball this year, but ultimately you're hoping there's going to be some shooting. And they protected their nucleus, and they still have another trade to make. I still feel like the only like no way they're trading these guys on the Spurs would be Wemby, now Fox, and Castle. And everyone else is still in play for me. And they have contracts they can put together. They're not going to trade for Jimmy Butler, but if, he was a little more enticing, that's the type of trade. Maybe they could trade for Luka Doncic if he fails his physical in the Lakers and it turns out he's 290 pounds. But this is an awesome trade for them. In my head, this was a 4 or 5 firsts and probably Sohan or Vassell in it. Seemed like that was it. But I guess if you're the Spurs, you're like, look, man, we're not giving up a lot for this dude. He wants to come here anyway. He's from Texas. We'll just get him in a year and a half. So we can do this now and you'll get some stuff, or we'll just wait. We're on no rush. We're not going to win the title. One thing Eddie Johnson said on my pod on Thursday, I thought was a great ex-basketball player point, was about Fox as a lefty with Wemby as a righty versus Fox as a lefty with Sabonis as a lefty, which I thought was cool. But I like the idea of Fox, not great when players push their way out of a team, but he gave him a heads up. I'm not going to resign here. He's been pretty clear about that for the whole season. He picks San Antonio. He picks this whole Wemby circus that will become a circus in a good way because you're attaching yourself to one of the, generational superstars in the league. You fit in nicely with him. Now you throw those lobs at a righty, as Eddie was pointing out, and it just feels like an incredible career move for Fox. It really does. It's like, wow, I totally get what you're thinking here.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, obviously, we had the big piece on Victor on the Ringer last week.
Yeah, nice piece.
I went all in on this guy, and then he had a great game in Paris right after, so I felt good. But everybody around the league is seeing the same thing that we are, Bill. De'Aaron Fox among them. This is a superstar. In the Ringer 100, he's gone from number 67 to number 6 in less than 2 years. You had him as the number 1 trade value asset in the league.
Do you agree with that?
Of course. I mean,
Okay.
He's 21. He's a 25 point a game scorer, and he's the best defender in the league. And this is the worst Victor will ever see, is his famous quote about himself.
And he's not just the best defender in the league. He's decidedly the best defender in the league already. He absolutely disrupts and devastates games with his defense and really fucks teams up already.
There was a sequence in Paris at the end of the third quarter that I'd ask everybody to go watch the first Pacers game in Paris, where Victor blocked 4 shots in a row. One was a goaltend. And then he made a 3, threw a lob, and caught a lob on the other end of the court. And that was just like, all right, that's crazy. That's what De'Aaron Fox is seeing. That's what everybody else is seeing. This dude is only getting better. And I think the Spurs are really excited today to have another piece in place, another all-star level piece for the future to build an offense specifically, Bill, around a guy who, and I think this is your term, looks like a giraffe on ice a little bit sometimes on offense. De'Aaron Fox is going to take care of some of that, and they can grow together. And is there a better just a lob game than Fox and Wemby? I love it.
I don't know if Fox is if this is going to be like a Chicago Bulls run for Wemby someday, or a Lakers run, or, a Kobe Gasol run, or a 2010s Warriors run. I'm not sure. Fox to me seems more like a Klay Thompson, Draymond Green level star. He's not like a true number 2. He's not the Kobe to Shaq, something like that. It still feels like there's room for them to get one more awesome wing, and then that's the threesome. Wemby, awesome wing, Fox, and they have 2 years to figure it out. They're not going to win the title this year. They're not going to win the title next year. But they have the pieces to figure this out. And as we're seeing now, not just with Fox, Wemby is becoming a seductive spot in San Antonio for, if you're a player that wants to win, that wants to kind of be along for the ride for some titles and some playoff appearances in a place with no state tax, a really good organization, it becomes pretty enticing. So here's the small market model working.
Well, yeah, and I wrote this in the Wemby piece, but there's like 2 guys under 26 in the Ringer top 100's top 10 rankings. Victor Wembanyama is by far the youngest, and the other one is Luka Doncic, who is about to be 26, right? So, I mean, Wemby he's going to be Doncic's age in 2029, I wrote, which is just crazy. Just think about how much time he has to get better. And look, he is there. He's going to be this great player. I don't want to sort of belabor the point, but this is a deal that the Spurs, they don't make a lot of trades. They don't do this kind of thing historically. So this is a big deal for them, and I'm sure they're pretty happy with it. They didn't, like I said, I think the other headline is they didn't give up Castle, they didn't give up Vassell, they didn't give up Sohan. And they still have Atlanta's pick this year, which is looking really good.
Well, by the way, how is that pick not in this trade? Because Jalen Johnson just goes out, and that Atlanta pick is going to be somewhere probably between 9 and 14 in a really loaded draft.
Maybe even better than that.
I would have wanted that one.
Atlanta is cratering right now, unsurprisingly, without Jalen. So, I think they're in really good shape, and nobody's truly surprised by that. But this is the kind of move that a pop organization hadn't typically made. This is a team that builds through the draft, through savvy free agency signings. Doesn't usually go after a big trade piece like this. So it's a big deal for the San Antonio Spurs.
I'm just relieved that, and we got some of it with Chris Paul this year, but I am if you have a big guy, you have to have a good or very good point guard that can take care of them. If I have a good eater in my house, I want to have a good chef to cook for if I have a Hall of Fame eater in my house, not going to go to the crappiest grocery store. I want real meals for my guy. Sacramento now has a team of Sabonis, Levine, DeRozan, Malik Monk, and Keegan Murray, basically as the, I guess the crunch time five. I guess that means some Monk playing some point, DeRozan having the ball. This is just turning into a let's just play our best five guys together. They don't really have another point guard. Maybe they'll try to get one. Maybe they could try to flip an asset into something, but it's just a weird team. And you mentioned earlier, it's a directionless team. It's a team when we worked at Grantland together 10 years ago, we got a lot of comedy out of. They took Stauskas. What was that with the 8th pick?
Yeah. Stauskas.
And it was that video of Vivek going around the table like Stauskas going around, and we all got a kick out of that. They've just been a train wreck forever, really since 2000. But it's been 20 years of this.
Yeah.
Then 2 years ago, they get the 2 seed. Light the beams happening. They got a little something with Sabonis and Fox together, and it feels like they're on the right way. And this year, they fire their coach. They bring in Doug Christie. They start winning a couple games. It's like, whoa, okay, feeling good again. And then Fox has that trade request, and it craters everything again. They lost by 180 points to OKC yesterday, and became clear something was going to happen. What would you tell a Kings fan?
It feels like the same old thing to me, Bill. The West has been brutal since we've been covering basketball together. You're looking at teams like Memphis, Houston, Oklahoma City, San Antonio for the foreseeable future, not to mention the LA Lakers.
Edwards.
Yeah. It's just, okay, what are you trying to do to get past teams like that? So it's not a slight against the Kings, but it is, do you really think that this is going to beat the Grizzlies or the Rockets or the Thunder? I don't see that with a team built around DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. And it was a cool story when they were
because we've already seen it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think you're right because
Bulls.
We have seen it. Sabonis playing with those guys is a fun wrinkle. I mean, the right kind of sophisticated offensive coach could probably have fun with this team. I'm not sure Doug Christie's our guy for that. And if I'm a Sacramento fan, I'm just bummed. I'm bummed that we didn't get the Atlanta pick. I'm bummed I didn't get at least 3 firsts. I'm bummed I didn't at least get, I don't know, Sohan back, something. Yeah. Could we have turned Keegan Murray into Devin Vassell? Makes the Spurs, they just didn't get any of it. And then from the Chicago side, this is the Reinsdorf middle. That's what they call it. Can we be between 36 and 44 wins every year? Can we have the illusion of hope? I think in their case, like that team's not a contender. I wanted to see Buzelis play more. I actually like him.
Yeah, you like him.
They had to carve out some minutes for him. They got their first round pick back. I would assume the next move is Vucevic.
Yeah,
being traded somewhere. Maybe they move Josh Giddey. I don't know, but it would seem like this is a move toward let's now finish in the bottom 10 in the league and try to get another good pick, right?
Yeah, and I think they reclaimed their own pick, which is great. So they can be there. But yeah, Vucevic has some value on the market. I know teams like Phoenix or Golden State have been looking for shooting bigs, and he matches that description. This guy is one of the best jump shooting bigs. Defensively, he leaves a lot to be desired, but I think he's a good player. And I wouldn't be surprised to see, by the end of this week that he's playing in a different uniform.
So when you say a lot to be desired, you mean because he doesn't play defense?
I think his nickname was Layup Line, if I'm not mistaken, but I might be mistaken on that.
You're being kind. I like how you are cutting guys down sometimes in the nicest possible way. He leaves a little to be desired. Like, is he a guy you could maybe score 70 points against in the right game? Yes, he is. Anyway, Chicago, now we can add them to the whole to the capture the flag sweepstakes. Try to get in there. Last thing I'll say, and then we can move on to the Luka trade, because I really have other stuff I want to say about Luka and everything that happened. This is an interesting moment for De'Aaron Fox. we see these guys call their shot, right? These guys that push their way to another team. They're usually about half a level higher than De'Aaron Fox, or they have some sort of playoff pedigree, like in Jimmy Butler's case. In this case, he doesn't have it. I think he's a player we've all thought was really talented. He's about to hit his late 20s. We've seen him in the playoffs. You know, he didn't leap out in any great way. It's not like some Anthony Davis that 1 year in the playoffs when he just laid waste to the Blazers. He doesn't have any of that. And I think we all think he's really good, but now the spotlight is completely different. You're playing in Sacramento. You're buried. You're just another team in the West with all these famous players and teams. Now you're playing with the most famous international player that this league's going to have. And it's a different level of scrutiny and everything.
Yeah, and it should be symbiotic. These guys should make each other better. De'Aaron Fox's strengths should play into Victor Wembanyama's strengths and vice versa.
Yeah.
The dude is, lightning. He's one of the faster players with the ball in his hand.
Do you think the Spurs want to play like that?
I think when
are they
going
to want to push and run and go? Is Wemby going to want to do that?
I mean, the first pass you look for, Victor Wembanyama gets a defensive rebound. Now that first pass is, okay, can he get Fox at midcourt on this sort of Bill Walton style outlet pass or, this Kevin Love over? Yeah. So I think when you have Randy Moss, you throw the ball deep. And I think when you get this is not Chris Paul, right? Like they've been playing with Chris Paul.
He's slowing everything down. Yeah, because he's old.
Yeah.
In a good way, for him. But,
So I think they will play fast. And I think, Victor at the 5 is one of the more, agile 5 men in the league. So I think you'll see that pace number creep up in San Antonio. You have a bunch of young guys now. So I think they will play to his strengths and he should get some easy buckets. Wemby blocks
and he's a crunch
shot.
Time guy for them too, would be the other piece.
Crunch time. Yeah, for sure. The shooting has always been his challenge, but like if you look at his free throw number, which is what us nerds look at, it's great. He shoots 80% from the free throw line. That should be a 40% 3-point shooter. It just hasn't been there. I'd love to see him as he goes into sort of his late 20s become a 37, 38, 40% 3-point shooter. He hasn't done that yet.
Right.
And that's the thing that could take him over the top and make this a triumph for the Spurs. But he has a lot of potential here. And you're right. It's a laser focus for him.
Crunch time. Fox, Castle, Vassell, maybe Sohan, Wemby. It's a pretty good defensive team. It's not going to make a lot of threes. There are going to be some bad shots, but defensively, that's a pretty interesting team. And you'd probably, I guess, target Fox and go after him and try to put him in pick and rolls. But other than that, those are all guys that I think would be in pretty good shape. Anyway, interesting trade. Anytime you can get San Antonio, Sacramento, and the mediocre Bulls together for a 3-teamer, you just thank your lucky stars.